pharma, on academia, on government agencies. And I'm not saying that they're entirely bad, but that structure is extremely faulty. I was reading, I've forgotten the source, so forgive me for that, but it was Elizabeth Warren coming out about, well, he's talking about measles and talking about vitamin A, just real disdainful, like she's a scientist. She's not, and she's subject to error. And I did read an article that what I could get out of it from the Oxford Journal of Medicine, suggesting that vitamin A is good in the treatment of measles. So it seems like there's a lot of sources, because I try to inform myself on both sides of the question, considering that there's so much division in the United States on so many issues, that vitamin A was recommended as a treatment for measles. And yet the legacy press all sort of at one attack Robert Kennedy as if he's all bad, he's always wrong, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's the influence of money on opinion making. So I just wanted to throw this out there, and also appreciate Daniel's. It seemed like a way to offer some kind of measurement for looking at what science is. As far as I'm concerned, science should always be questioned. I think that's the process of science itself and the development of trying to find more clarity.
Literally, by definition, it is asking questions.
See, so it's a, leave your ego out of the room and try to be objective, and when you're not, be objective later. I didn't vet this information, but apparently those people that died of pneumonia or something in Texas actually died of mycoplasma pneumonia and didn't receive appropriate treatment for that, and that they're blaming all kinds of other things where actually 5 out of the 5 were misdiagnosed and mistreated. And so there's another wrinkle in time, just holding to when you hold to a dogma and don't look at what's really there. As a physician, as a medical doctor, the result is death and mayhem. And so, every day we, when I approach a patient, I don't hold to a dogma, especially in a sick person. I just try to say, is all the pieces telling the right story? And if the right, so when I do my teaching, I also teach the young doctors, I say, all of the information has to fit together and tell a story. And if the story doesn't make sense to you, then you have to re-engage. And even when you re-engage, you have to be skeptical of your decisions too, your diagnosis a lot of time. And so, the practice of medicine is a practice of uncertainty and objectivity. Otherwise, your patients die or worse.
What's worse than dying?
Being alive and suffering and uncomfortable like that, and not being able to have any agency to move forward from there. Yeah, so that's a little bit judgy on my side. I apologize for that. And being, losing your mind and being so afraid, we could name 1,000 different reasons for this, but there are some things that are not cool.
James, it's nice to see you back.
Probably it's a background noise for us, but I am back.
missed a spirited discussion on the study, on the microdosing study, and a general overview of what science is or should be and isn't, and so it's gonna. Say again, James? Yeah, I cannot actually hear what you're saying. Did anyone make out what he's saying?
No.
No, what? Hello, Lee.
I think he said, happy now.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And Daniel, and Michael, welcome. Even though you can't hear us, even though we can hear you garbled, welcome back and welcome home and welcome to your here. And everybody, happy now. Jordan, can you, I can't speak for everybody, but can you express to Mr. Fadiman that no, the deadheads thank you, Dr. Fadiman. I read that somewhere that he thanks the deadheads. And Daniel, that was beautiful and really prescient. And Gregory, you can do a book report for me anytime. And Rebel, I agree with you. And I just wanted to give everybody love and say back to you, James. Oh, so by the way, this might matter or not with ADHD, and coming from what Gregory said, that report's really not the be-all and end-all. But I don't know about microdosing and ADHD because I don't really have experience. Because while I'm still pretty forgetful, I was put on Ritalin when I was a kid. I was one of the original Rid kids in the 60s with adult doses, way too much Ritalin, because back then they said hyperactive. I think I've pretty much curbed it because I finish a task and I go on to the other, although I'm forgetful. But that's yay. But just in general, I can imagine that the ADHD can be helped with a proper microdose regime. I'm pretty sure. But sorry, I just wanted to add that ADHD thing to the story. And thank you so much.
Have you tapped into the RFK situation a little more? And also the RFK's comments and things that are going on?
Anybody catch that?
Yeah, James wanted to hear a summary of what we were saying about RFK and his take on science and what that meant. Daniel gave a really good discussion of that.
And I said something about him basically being
world's first
the
ever jet
equivalent
shark.
of
Go to the outside.
clickbait
And
dogma.
it's a
judgmental.
four-seater with gull-wing doors. Now
You
this
wouldn't
can
be
dive
so
underwater.
judgmental if Warren had
Float
eaten
in
half
a boat.
of your brain.
And it feels like a fighter jet. Obviously,
And I wouldn't be in
it's
office.
watertight.
I
You
would
can sit with the cabin.
be doing something
The fins
appropriate.
will move.
Click
The joysticks
edition.
at the front. And up there, that's actually a snorkel. It's a front-facing camera, a rear-facing camera.
Anybody catch the article in the Wall Street Journal? I think it was Xanax Nation.
You might not be expecting this.
might have been the title. Certainly Xanax was the first word in the title of it. And it basically says don't take Xanax or benzodiazepines, period. It was saying, because I'm doing a slow taper on Xanax, and I found opiates a lot easier to get off of than Xanax, because I've been taking it for so many years. It's the only prescription drug I use, which in 876 is kind of unusual in itself. But anyway, this is for, I think this should be passed on to anybody, not to judge somebody that's taking Xanax, particularly if they're older and they have sleep problems. Yeah, it's a risk-benefit kind of evaluation. It pretty much said that it can take up to a year to rebound from Xanax, and to take for older people that have been on it a long time should take at least a year, and their sleep may never rebound. There may be long-term effects of Xanax use. I mean, it's pretty horrendous. It's up there with yet another psychiatric drug that's been recommended for years. They find that it's not only not efficacious, but to a large degree dangerous and not suggested for any kind of use. I think this is where Amanita muscaria, although there's a lot of misinformation out about that, as we all know, that it's all in the preparation, which I think Jordan pointed out lately. It's even that needs to be studied a little bit more, but not in this climate of sort of politicalization of science.
Please don't scroll. I'm just trying to become a big content creator one day, but I have no supporters. So if
Thanks for bringing that article up, John. I posted it into the top of the thread if anybody.
So if you have the chance, please.
Read what they're talking about.
The trouble is, James, with it is it's behind a paywall.
So if you have the chance, please subscribe.
I posted. Check out the one on fortune.com that I just
Oh, great, I will. Sure.
So if you have the chance, please.
one of the things that's really fascinating about Xanax and benzos and
So if you have.
the lack of discussion about their addictive nature, as you mentioned, into the.
Please don't scroll. I'm just trying to be.
Is that the dependency on them in order to get using it?
Please don't scroll.
For religious-minded people, this.
Please don't scroll.
Also, take your fill and will of love as ye will. There is a word to say about the Hierophantic, delivered from the.
About black people and that black people were in a Democrat basement.
Okay. Once I get off the plane here and into a better place, I'll read this article if you guys want.
Oh, much better.
This is the hymn to Pan.
I'm not moving anymore. I'm not like flowing around. I'm just deep boarding right now.
Please don't scroll. I'm just. Please don't scroll.
Do you guys think that this article?
You know what makes me feel pain?
This trend might extend across other states, or just think that it's isolated to conservative constituencies.
Well, I'm definitely afraid it will expand across other states. You know, once.
The Magician is the correct title of Key 1. The Meditation on Beth.
All kinds that you can expect it will expand. Did it
I
actually
am-
apply in Florida, or is it just proposed? I've heard about it.
On this account, too,
Last 3 days ago,
the sun,
I have some
the wasp,
friends that are there that actually
the
are running
supple,
businesses
the
that say
fool,
that because
personally know a person who has been running a lab in Florida.
Hey everybody, my name is Sam, aka Sam Bucha, and I'm a
Relocated
YouTuber who makes
based on
variety
his-
content ranging from
Based on his
challenges to
assumption that
gaming
this
to
would pass,
On the 23rd of
he started
October,
moving several months ago to Colorado. But they're not the only people. Like I think Idaho, maybe even California has a spore issue that's ignored in most places. There's a couple other places where spores, because of their potential to produce a psychedelic, are on.
That's correct. It's California, Idaho, and Georgia, and now.
On the 23rd of October, I discovered
some of
something
the-
that's
I mean-
probably changed my life. It resulted in me
Forget
posting this
Idaho,
video
but
that went on to get
Georgia and
4.5 million
are
views.
two
But
of
what most
the
people
best foraging places in the United States.
Yeah, and they all differ from state to state. Some is about transport, some is about actually treating the process that was referred to in this particular article, which is now they're being very specific. They're saying anything that can produce. So in prior language, it was about the actual production. So the use of spores in a microscopic format and scientific research format was not legal, but the production of entheogenic fungi using those spores.
You know what makes me feel
was illegal. So Florida is the first state to really point it out to the point of saying like, hey, if these can produce entheogenic mushrooms, then therefore they are now illegal as well. So they've gotten to the specifics of it at this point.
James, forgive my ignorance. Do you have a company that, quote unquote, quotes, does microscopic research materials?
Yes, but there's a difference. I am in a decriminalized zone in the city of San Francisco. So in San Francisco proper, we're completely decriminalized from all of those activities, even the state legislation indicates.
And so, what happens if does your company ship spores to Idaho, Georgia, now Florida, and California?
No, I don't ship microscopy work without a prior connection. But the way that I do work is that I have a collective that falls under the legislative efforts. If you're in California and you're protected under the city legislative efforts by working under all the framework that we use. So whereas like people are using their religious freedom model and things like that, and using churches in order to incite the ability to ship these things back and forth, we're working more at a collective level, a personal education level, and a personal knowledge level, which is more in line and more in relation to the different types of legislative efforts that have been put forward. So we're not trying to sell things. We're not trying to capitalize off it, but we are trying to build knowledge base access through education.
Word. Heard that. Getting back to the original question about it, are we concerned about it spreading to the other states? I think there could potentially be like a divisive organization of states, but I think there are safe places that will not revert. Oregon and Colorado.
Like tapeworms are. Have you heard of tapeworm?
Well, those are in your intestines or in your
Yes, you can get a tapeworm into you.
But they are not those. No, they are not those kinds of worms. The worms, the worms that eat the body are different.
Yeah. Okay. What species of worm are they?
You can.
You can Sam, it's a similar sort of question. If you put a fruit in a box, and the fruit starts to decay, if the box is completely sealed off, the glass container is completely sealed off, therefore no fruit flies should be in that fruit when it starts to decay. Versus if it's outside the box, fruit flies will eventually show, right?
Yeah, I'm claiming that